How's it going, everyone? This is your social media titan and everyone's favorite or not, or whichever. I'm Sienna S.E. Chanel. Welcome to the very first episode of Yapping with SC and Friends. This is going to be just like a once or twice or however months episode on this YouTube channel exclusively. And who knows, maybe I'll be going live simulcastically, but I'm trying this everything going on because this is like my first time doing StreamYard and everything too. But that's not the case, and y'all know me. I am a certified yapper, and that's the inspiration of this show, because we'll be yapping with my friends right here, like whether it's in wrestling content creation, fandom, or even the wrestling industry. We can yap about like this topic and we'll just chat away too. So, anyway, here with me in this inaugural episode, I have two of my wonderful friends that I have the honor of meeting them ever since this whole journey with the wrestling TikTok community / Wrestle Talk. And I actually met one of them this year twice. First things first, she is the co-founder of the podcasting network, The Familia. She is everyone's favorite, especially with that catchphrase, of course. Say hello to Christy Tina.
Hi, babies. How's everyone doing today? I'm so freaking excited to be here. Like, it's wild. Sienna, thank you so much. XLJ, you already know that you're one of my favorites. So I'm so super hyped for this episode.
Woo! And I'm so happy that you're here with me, and I'm very hyped as well. And right next to her, of course, he is the founder of Cole TV, and also he hosts many shows, especially the show that Christy and I are a part of called Pro Wrestling 60, which airs every Monday. But right now we're on a break until mid-January because, holidays, all that stuff. And of course, he just celebrated his birthday on Christmas Day. Say hello to the XLJTheOG.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here on the premiere episode. I hope everybody had an amazing holiday season, and I'm excited to get into this with you and just talk with you. And I got the privilege of meeting you 2 times this year at WrestleMania and SummerSlam, so that was pretty dope.
Hell yeah. And I must say, thank you so much for the hospitality and also making sure that I'm being well taken care of, being watched over and everything at SummerSlam, you, B-Roll, and J Knows Wrestling. It was an absolute buzz, and the SummerSlam adventure was a hoot, too.
Oh, yeah. It was a trip.
Yes. All right, you guys. So before we're going to get into the episode, we would like to thank today's sponsor of this video, of course, SeatGeek. Roll it away. Today's sponsorship of this video is brought to you by SeatGeek. So I know there's going to be a lot of sporty events, concerts, festivals, events, and everything that's going on. And I know that due to the state of this economy, ticket pricing are going into high. But with SeatGeek.com, it's a ticket website where the prices are very reasonable, and especially they have the color coding system to make sure of the pricing of the ticket is good, and also with the seat view as well. Now then, I got a code for y'all. So for first time user of SeatGeek, I'll give you my promo code if you use Sienna Chanel, and you'll save $20 off of your first SeatGeek purchase. So all I can say is use SeatGeek.com. If you can able to get the ticket, use that code, and then you'll be good to go. Available on the website and on the app. So thank you, SeatGeek, for sponsoring this video. Okay, with that being said, on today's episode of Yapping with Sienna, and yeah, I kind of botched with that later. Like I said, first time doing this whole StreamYard stuff and everything, y'all know. The episode we're going to be talking about, and we're going to be yapping away, is going to be prediction in wrestling going into 2025. And I must say, y'all, 2024 has been a very interesting, incredible, shocking moment ever in all of wrestling, whether it's pro wrestling or independent wrestling too. And I must say, a lot has been going into fruition, going on, that is actually cultivating everything going on within wrestling, whether within the company, the fandoms, and also with wrestling content creation as well too. And to me, is that being part of those three categories, content creation, fandom, and industry, I do see the whole different ballpark of how it's actually like changing it through to 2024 and how it's going to be happening in 2025. Now, to summarize it, what do y'all think of like, how wrestling is this year before we're going to be talking about what's going to be happening in 2025 when we break it out into a bit? Y'all can start either one.
I'll start, Jeremy, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so 2024 for me, at least, especially in the world of WWE, it's kind of been a year of like getting the fans' trust back. As we all know, there was a very, very large lawsuit that was involved with WWE. There was a very, very large buyout and a very, very large takeover that dealt with WWE. And a lot of us weren't sure how the company was going to be able to bounce back. And I was actually speaking about this with my co-host, Pat the Wise Man, on our live a few days ago, that it kind of hit the reset clock for me at WrestleMania 40. The end game of WrestleMania matches was absolutely one of the most mind-boggling things I've ever seen. And this, like, not even to take into account that they didn't even get who they actually wanted to get for the match. That was like the B squad that they had for WrestleMania 40. Originally, they wanted Stone Cold Steve Austin to have the Undertaker's spot, but they didn't want to pony up enough money to get Stone Cold, so they got the Undertaker as a backup because only WWE would have the opportunity to have the Undertaker as like a retainer. Like that's how big that moment was. Cody being lifted onto the shoulders of, I believe it was Kevin Owens and Randy.
I believe so.
And being walked around the ring, being presented with Dusty's watch afterwards. Like all of these major things is what set off the year. Like that would usually be the closer. So I feel like WWE specifically and just the wrestling industry as a whole has been kind of chasing that high since April. AEW had a Summer of Punk moment when it was Toni Storm, Mariah May, and Swerve at the top of their card. I don't think I've seen a better main event duo in terms of men's and women's wrestling than Swerve and Toni Storm at their hottest. I cosplayed as Toni Storm for my birthday, for Christ's sakes. Like, I don't do these things. But when you
I love it.
Tap into it, when you tap into the fandom like that and you make them care, they'll go out of their comfort zones to show their love and appreciation. And that's very much what Toni and Swerve did this year. And I feel like both AEW and WWE had their hot moments, and then they've just been chasing the dragon ever since. So I wonder what their benchmark is going to be for 2025 leading into the rest of next year for them.
You actually brought in like a pretty excellent point too when it comes to like, in the beginning, like we have this like high profile like scandal that happened that like everybody was talking about it. Everybody was giving their take on it. And like how we see like the fans' true colors too, like on everything that is going into fruition too. And then, like, when you mentioned reset after WrestleMania 40, it definitely does give, like, a complete reset because that is the same year that TKO took over WWE and UFC, too. And so we've seen, like, a lot that's been going on with WWE, and let alone the fact that they add in more and more. Like, we have that brief partnership with TNA Wrestling, which I'm going to be saying about TNA Wrestling in just a moment, y'all. And... yeah, TNA Wrestling, also Pro Wrestling Noah, even with GCW as well, which kind of like cultivated with the indies, and then also with the WWE ID program that is like launching for like independent wrestling, that's causing like a huge buzz storm with independent wrestling, which with the ID program is like, it's kind of like, the stepping stone of like the wrestling school, and everybody in the independent wrestling scene are actually like continuing on to going stronger than ever. The fans are getting more enthusiastic with the independent wrestling scene as well too. And then with AEW, like AEW has been going through this character shift too, with like a lot of like people going into like this different character mode, and they have a very incredible year, like with Toni Storm, like her timeless Toni Storm gimmick, and also going into this whole like back to this old school Tony Storm, but in this, like, what just happened with Tony Storm? Is she okay and everything because of the whole amnesia angle they're doing? And then, like, with Swerve Strickland and everything, too. Like, it is starting to get more and more into, like, this craziness going on. And regarding with TNA Wrestling, as y'all know, that earlier this year, Scott D'Amore has left the company, and TNA was been in a limbo, on and off. Like, I would say this, like, the only thing they keep going was, like, the whole partnership with WWE, especially, like, with NXT brand going on and off. Jordynne Grace even debuted at this year's Royal Rumble. And then a couple months later, she's back in NXT while being the Knockouts champion, too. And we were hoping that this partnership is going to last and whatnot, but then it kind of like fizzled down a bit until it keeps a crash course with the return of Tessa Blanchard. Also, this BS budget cut that's going on. We've got a couple people that left TNA Wrestling, like the likes of Jay Chung, the ring announcer, to Josh Alexander, Mustafa Ali, Jordynne Grace is set to be released, Speedball Mike Bailey, and so on, too. New Japan, ever since Tanahashi took over late last year, a lot of fans are kind of like, into this whole different ship. But now, with the partnership going on with New Japan, with Stardom, CMLL, and AEW too, it's like this whole partnership going on with wrestling that's actually into fruition, and a lot of the indie companies is doing the same too. And XLJ, I know you have a lot to say about what your thoughts about in 2024 in general in wrestling too.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing I would start off with is more often than not, we often kind of get lost in the moment or don't like really truly appreciate what's going on. As wrestling fans right now, y'all need to appreciate what is happening in the world of professional wrestling because it's the strongest and healthiest it's ever been. I mean, there's so many different companies getting exposure out there. It's not just about the one big show in town anymore. Like, and you can say what you will about AEW, but I mean, competition is healthy. I mean, look what WWE is doing now. I'm not saying that's from AEW or anything like that, but I mean, obviously they had to get their shit together, several, since AEW's inception, which is hard to believe. It's been 5 years now. Like, if you just look at the world of professional wrestling, where it was 5 years ago to this, it's like, holy shit, this is like the Renaissance era, is like they're calling it. So I think that's the first main focal point. I think 2024 has been like one of the better years in professional wrestling. Has it been the best? You could debate that all you want. It's been a damn good year. Just enjoy it. And I think 2025 is going to be even more exciting to see. You both brought up some great points about all these different companies to be on the look. It's fascinating to me. You mentioned TNA. It's fascinating to me to see a company that started off so strong in 2024. And granted, I think their numbers and their drawing and houses and stuff, that's still there. But just like as far as respect in the fans' eyes, it's just like, ugh. And then 2025, what you're going to see is just like you mentioned, a lot of those roster members that are going to be gone from TNA. Like, I don't know what's going to happen to TNA from here. Will they still exist? I think they'll still be around in some capacity, but I would go as far as I wouldn't be shocked if they're not the number 3 company in North America anymore. Because I just feel that strongly with like these decisions of being made, and like we could talk all day about the Tessa Blanchard shit.
Oh God,
it's just like I just scratch my head, and my dog Clay has something to say about it too, don't you? You don't like it?
Yeah. Hey, Clay.
He says
hey.
It's just a floating head. But
fur babies are welcome.
But
always.
But 2024, like I said, it just was an impressive year. Like, if you look at think of this way, like if you're doing your awards for like for different like candidate, like for female wrestler of the year, for example, you could easily argue Toni Storm, Mariah May, Liv Morgan, Jordynne Grace. That's just 4 off the top of my head. Like, those are all viable candidates. And not only for that, for wrestler of the year, as far as I'm concerned. Like, it's just there's just so much healthy competition going on right now. And I think when you look ahead to 2025, what is going to be the underlying theme, and it's about to start this upcoming week here in the new year, it's all about streaming. Because now you've got the two big companies. You've got AEW is now going to be on Max. Their library is now going to be available on Max, which I think is going to be interesting to see because it's going to bring in more people because they can see the product from the past. And it's just like, oh, okay, you know, I think I want to check this out. And that's the other thing, too. Wrestling is a water cooler topic right now in the world of pop culture. You know, it's cool to watch wrestling again, right? Although it's always been cool. But that's besides the point.
Oh, absolutely.
And then, of course, WWE going on with Netflix. I mean, that's going to be, I mean, Netflix and chill and watch Raw now, like, which is something I never thought we would be saying. The biggest thing there, I have the concern with everybody else is please don't let this be another freaking like Tyson Paul fight like shit with the buffering.
Oh my god, I can't do the buffering again. I cannot do the buffering again.
Yes. However, yeah, definitely. Yeah, this whole like testing the water with like Jake Paul versus Tyson's like fight, it's definitely like a test run for it. And of course, like I had like my friends on the group chat happy chatting, watching football on Christmas Day too, because Beyonce was performing halftime on Netflix. And they say like there was a little bit of a buffering, but there's like no issues at all. So like, okay, so they already learned their mistake from Netflix as well. But yeah, y'all did actually brought in good points of like what's going to be happening with 2024 and everything. And we're just going to go jump into it, like prediction of what's going to happen into 2025, you know, especially like with the streaming service, streaming networks that's going to be taking place. AEW is going to be the first company going to debut on Max on New Year's. Out of all places, and let alone the fact that they're getting ready for the build up for Wrestle Dynasty, also New Japan with Wrestle Kingdom 2. That's like, and Stardom with their first like pay-per-view like for the new year too. So last pay-per-view of 2024 is AEW's World's End, which that was a solid show, way better than last year, just saying. But now we're into this year, we're going to be seeing like a lot of people are going to be tuning into AEW to expect like how the streaming service is going to work, especially on Max for the very first time. They're still going to air on TBS, but hopefully they better like, you know, not have any issues for it. That's like first things first. Though I know New Japan Pro Wrestling has been on New Japan World for like years and years too, and they had like, you know, some errors in the past, some all that. So it's like more of like a testing water for like each of the major company that they're going to be streaming it on like those streaming networks too, though. And let alone the fact that Monday Night Raw coming in January 6th will be on Netflix, you know, here in the United States. But for internationally, they're going to be having Monday Night Raw, NXT, and SmackDown in certain global countries outside of the United States, which is like a huge privilege for them too. And I have a feeling with that because of like those streaming networks, especially with some of the independent promotions that have like Triller TV or IWTV too and other streaming platforms, like we're going to be seeing like more and more streaming services that's going to come into play with some of the networks too. We're going to be seeing some errors, absolutely, because this is going to be the first year that some of the major wrestling promotion are going to be testing the waters of like those of like going live on a streaming platform. And let alone Netflix has been one of the biggest streaming platforms in years and years. Max, like little over like years two. This is going to be something that's going to be changing into this whole day and age because people are now more tuning in for like streaming network than watching actual cable TV too. Like as we all notice. Because like I'm more into watching.
It's funny to me with this. Let me ask you both this. Do you think with streaming now, are wrestling fans still going to be dumbasses and pay attention to ratings? Does ratings?
Oh my God! Yes, God, I'm glad you actually point that out. That is like one of the biggest pet peeve ever. Is like fans are concerning about numbers. Like I kid you not. Like why are y'all concerned about ratings? Like I spoke about it on my Instagram video, on my talking point, and on PW60. Like just enjoy the product. Why do you even care about the numbers too? Right, Chrissy?
I mean, honestly, wrestling fans are always going to need something to complain about. I am just convinced that that is how we are built as a
Mhm.
majority, as a civilization. And it does make me sad sometimes. It's just unfortunate that we just can't let these people work and just have us enjoy their work. We have to have a gripe with something. That's why most people take Dave Meltzer's word and Brian Alvarez's words
Yep.
100% to heart, when in reality they've just been feeding us that CM Punk's been a very good boy backstage and we should all be proud of him and give him a cookie when they've literally never done that for anybody else ever. So yeah, a plant's a plant. We gotta realize what that is in 2025. But wrestling fans are always just gonna need to be right about something, as opposed to just sitting back and enjoying the product. And that could be just from years of us being burned by the thing that we love the most. Do not get me wrong, WWE, just because they've been real hot in the last few years, doesn't mean that they don't have sins to still pay for.
Mhm.
I remember Miss Kitty, and I believe it was Tori Wilson in a gravy match. I remember this. I remember John Cena smacking Stephanie McMahon's ass on a SmackDown. I
Mhm.
remember all of
I got
these
two
things.
words for you, Katie Fick.
Hmm.
Yep.
That is a lifetime of resentment there.
Yeah, listen, like WWE has burned a lot of its fans, have taunted us for knowing things outside of the wrestling zeitgeist. That is WWE, just to turn around and be like, hey, we're working with TNA now. Do you know who these people are? Even though we've told you to never pay outside attention out of the
Mhm.
bubble ever. So now they have to really watch how they treat us, because now there's more valid and solid options than there ever has been. TNA by itself, before the tie-ins with WWE, was getting more and more successful. AEW,
Mhm.
despite people saying that it's going to go under and tank in the
Oh
next few
yeah.
weeks, just recently signed this incredibly huge deal with Max. There's
Mhm.
more. There's going to be more outside of the U.S. wrestling available to the
Yep.
United States fan based on that. The indies are getting more and more notice. GCW has been getting a lot more play. MLW has been getting a lot more play. These amazing indie wrestlers have been working all over the place. Like, for example, Brooke Havoc and
Yep.
Uha Batty. Like, these girls have used TikTok and these social media outlets to gain traction in their careers. And now the places, phew, sorry about that.
Bless you.
And
No worries.
thank
You're
you.
good.
Now the places that they've been working for now, because their fan base has grown so much, they're paying more attention to those outlets, to those
Mhm.
wrestling shows, and now they're getting attention. Even with something as much as like Sienna, like such as yourself, you do work as a ring announcer in these places. Your fandom follows you. I would
Mhm.
follow you, but then that might be get like too stalkerish, and I'm engaged. I'm trying
All
to keep
good.
them as
All good.
hard girl.
It's
But
all
yeah,
good though.
like you have these amazing fans that will follow you because they're a fan of you to these shows, and then it makes them pay attention to these shows and the wrestlers, and then it goes round and round and round. WWE is on the thinnest ice it's ever been in years, because there's so many other places for not only the fans to go, but their performers to go. Um, if AEW is offering me more money and health insurance and a lighter schedule so I can be with my family, I'm a jump to AEW. And it's not because I don't love wrestling, it's because it is a job. And a lot of fans also forget that as well. Like, brand loyalty is great, but if someone's offering Drew McIntyre $3 million more than WWE's offering him, he's probably going to take that, because at the end of the day, you are rooting for the human and their success, not for the company that they work for and their success. And that's what I need the wrestling fandom space to realize in 2025, is that we are rooting for the human behind the character, not the
Mhm.
company that created the character.
To kind of capitalize a little bit on what
Yes.
you're saying there, as far as like WWE and like, think of this: WrestleMania 40, right?
Mhm.
Set in place, set in stone. They're bringing The Rock in. It's Rock and Roman. And then look, they posted that first video on YouTube, and that single-handedly changed the trajectory of the biggest show of the year, when they realized, oh, we fucked up,
Oh
because
yeah.
people really want to see this Cody story get finished, and they want it now. and to just like the fact that they spin it around as quickly as they did, would that have happened in years past before in WWE? I don't think it would have, in my opinion. I think the fact that they're like they're catering a little bit more to the. I mean, it could be better for sure, but it's steps in the right direction. And Chrissy, you make an excellent point too. It's all about the talent, and there's so much amazing talent out there in the world of professional wrestling. Like I said before, it is the best time to be alive and be a professional wrestling fan, because if you're not getting it from streaming, you're not getting it from watching on TV, go to your local indie shows and you're going to see some of the most amazing talent around. So yeah, wrestling, it's in such a good spot right now. Let's just keep that all in mind. And I'm really excited, like I say, for 2025.
You brought in a lot of good points, y'all, especially when it comes to like WWE itself. Like, the thing of it is that like when it comes to like WWE is like kind of like currently the front man of pro wrestling too. And then you have AEW as a co-front man and some other wrestling promotion. I'm going to add New Japan Pro Wrestling as like the co-front man of it too, because like with these three companies are setting like more of the influence of how these fandoms are going to be cultivated, of like how they're reacting to like which of the product they're watching too. And with 2024 with the fandom, with the whole like Rock, Cody, and Roman situation that happens before WWE changes, like it actually shows another true side of the wrestling fandom. Hell, even in 2023, we saw the true colors of some of those wrestling fans when CM Punk made the return to WWE, and it has been like the whole World War III situation in that. And so my only thing is that like I hope for like 2025, like will these fandoms are gonna be like well behaved coming into this whole new year too. And for that, and I'm gonna be adding that to one way to say this to add it, because like it kind of ties into that. Will WWE going to continue moving forward, you know, from like their mistake from it, even though the situation going on that has been in light of BKM, I'm not going to say his full name. I don't really care. I really don't like that man. I don't care. Y'all can say whatever you want to say. Yeah, exactly. But will that going to continue to move forward, you know, just continuing to put product, or is just going to remain the same, or like just adding in a little bit too? Because like the thing of it is like the main focus they're going to do for 2025 is John Cena's retirement tour and Goldberg's as well, which it looks like he's going to be retiring, like, you know, within the span of a month. I don't know.
I forgot about that.
Exactly. And then let alone, we got to end some of the like long-term story that's been dragging after Mania 4, and like the whole Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley feud, of course, Judgment Day 2.0, get ready for breakup too, and everything that's going to be coming into light too. So the thing of it is, will WWE going to continue to move forward or remain the same? Honestly, history repeats itself. It's going to continue on, you know, just throwing in a little bit into the jabs that the fans are going to be like very critical about it too. But they're trying their best to just like to move forward into this, trying to distract the fans into what's going on, you know, behind the scenes too. Because like, come to think of it, because of this allegation that happened last year, and like they did like whole Rock, Cody, and Roman and all, it's like a distraction too from what I'm seeing from that. And it actually made this like this whole impact of like some of the wrestling business of it too, though, for how WWE's carry on for that, and AEW too. AEW with like, you know, reports of like anything that is like different, like, you know, backstage situation and everything like that too. But I'm hoping for like in 2025, they're going to have to continue on to what they're doing, especially like, you know, because we have like the younger demographic going to be focusing on is the John Cena retirement. They're going to be reminiscing about, you know, John Cena's career run and everything like that. Hating on Goldberg and anything like that too for this matter in 2025.
I'm all for hating on Goldberg. Let's get that going. I like that trend. Sorry. I think WWE is going to continue going on the trajectory that they're going. Like it's becoming more and more mainstream. the old hardened wrestling fan, or they're probably gonna be like, just kind of like with music in general. You have your favorite band, right? And then they just get like super ridiculous, over popular, and then you're like, oh, I don't like them as much. There's gonna be those types of fans, I think, with it. But I think at the end of the day, with Triple H being in charge of creative, I mean, that to me, it's working. And I mean, I know he's not the only one, but still, like, he's got a pretty solid grasp on leading like the product with where it's going. I think it's fascinating too to me is we're getting ready to go into WrestleMania season here. And you think about this time last year, you kind of had an idea of what the WrestleMania matches were going to be. I got to be honest with you both. I have no idea what the hell they're going to do at WrestleMania this year. I could see them doing like 3 or 4 different things. Like the Royal Rumble is going to be exciting to see, because I mean, that's really where the first seeds are going to be planted for like where we're going for WrestleMania. I'm excited about the Raw debut too. Don't get me wrong, that's going to be awesome. But maybe personally, because I'm going to be at the Royal Rumble, so I'm excited about that too. But anyway, sorry, I had to get that in there. But I think where WWE is going in 2025, it's going to be very interesting to see, like, will Cody continue on like his reign, or like what's going to happen with the bloodline? Like, where is that going? Gunther. I think Gunther's going to be a very interesting one to watch out, see where he goes this year. Will he still continue being dominant like we think, or and of course the John Cena storyline? I mean, that writes itself. Like, what is John Cena's last year going to look like? Well, we're about to find out.
It's going to be an incredible year, either for the better or for worse. Like, it's still up in the air, because like what XL said earlier, it is the John Cena retirement tour, but it's just his last Mania that's going to happen. He's still wrestling to the end of the year. So I'm not sure that the fans are going to get exactly what they think they're going to get from that John Cena Mania match. Very similar to how a lot of fans were kind of underwhelmed by the Usos match last year's, like this past year's Mania, where the build up and the match type didn't exactly like match up, didn't line up exactly. I think that's going to happen with the John Cena match. I don't know why I have a feeling about it, but they're going to have more for him to do after Mania. So it's not going to be this big crescendo for him that people think it's going to be. Just once again, what Jeremy said, we had a little bit more of an idea of what was going to happen last year around this time for certain Mania matches. I'm not sure necessarily if it's such a good thing that we are still so unsure of what exactly is going to happen, because now they've painted themselves into the corner of they have to fill up 2 nights. They have to fill up 2 nights. They set themselves up for that. It's no longer an option. And now they're considering doing it with things like SummerSlam, with things like the Royal Rumble as well. So now they have all of this amazing talent. They've always had probably one of the best rosters out of all of the companies. And now they have to find out something to do enough to fill up 5 pay-per-views in a year, because more likely than not, they're going to make the big 4 to 5 2-nighters. So that's Mania, that's Royal Rumble, that's SummerSlam, that's Survivor Series, at least. You're going to need to fill up 8 nights of pay-per-view, main event pay-per-view style wrestling consistently every single year forever now. Because I seriously doubt that WWE is gonna be able to swallow the pill of going back to doing one-night pay-per-views after having that be an option. So now, stop playing games in my face and use these people. Right. Chelsea Green just got the accolades that she deserves by getting the United States Championship. Do I feel like she should have been Miss Money in the Bank? Absolutely, I feel like she should have been Miss Money in the Bank, but they gave her something just as important that she is incredibly deserving of. I will always sing that woman's praises from the rooftops. Chelsea Green started off being the woman that Daniel Bryan cheated on Brie Bella with, to going to Tough Enough, to not completing, to doing the indies, to doing all these amazing things, to getting hired and then fired and rehired again. Like, there's nothing that shows resilience more in this day and age than a Chelsea Green. And I'm so incredibly happy for her. But then on the flip side, you have someone like a Zelina Vega with just as much as a fan following as Chelsea Green, with even more so difficulty behind her, because at least WWE's pushed Chelsea in terms of the Instagrams, in terms of the YouTube segments, in terms of things like that. When with Zelina, she's had to get over her own podcast with Josiah Williams and Dakota Kai. She worked out the entire thing with being the Street Fighter commentator, and then WWE came in to back her up afterwards. Like, she's been putting in the work on her own. The Zelina Vega Army was a Twitter movement that was started by her fans on their own. They weren't cued to do that. So when you do get the tip of the scale in a benefit like a Chelsea Green, but then someone like Zelina Vega gets less than the dust consistently, and that has not changed, it makes you concerned. Like, is WWE really learning the lessons that they say that they're learning? Are they absorbing the things that they're telling us that we need to believe in them and that they have it handled? It's like, do you really have it handled at this point? We are going into 2025 with some semblance of the bloodline still. We are going into 2025 with some semblance of the Judgment Day still. And that's absolutely wild to me, that Cody Rhodes is in some way, shape, or form still tied to Roman Reigns. You're done. You should be done.
I think that's the narrative they're going, though, for Chrissy. It's like, I think Roman and Cody are always going to be tied together one way or the other. Like, you go back and think about that Bad Blood promo they did, and it's just like, you're in my way in life, or whatever Roman said. I think that's what they're doing. It's like they're going to be arch nemesis rivals forever.
See, but that works for me, and that is a good point, because don't get me wrong, your girl is a huge Superman fan. I'm a big Superman, Lex Luthor forever kind of girl. I get that. But that only works, in my opinion, if you have something in between to give it space and to let it breathe. Like, you need those. Does your favorite television show do all 8 seasons all in one shot? No, they give you 3-month breaks, 6 months breaks in between. The reason why I know for a fact that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, no matter how close they get, they will always be a fight forever duo, is because they give it time to breathe. Same thing with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso. Right now, they're probably the best tag team in the division right now. I love them. I will always be a DIY girl. Give it a couple of months, someone's going to turn on somebody. That's just how that math is supposed to work. That's what the chemistry is that's how that's supposed to happen. They waited long enough with the New Day, and now they're finally doing a breakup angle. But they always had certain like ties of contention in between. It was always little seeds being planted. For the past 4 years, coming into 5 years, it's been Roman bloodline. Cody came back, got injured, but still made a mark. Came back from injury, went right back to that. And then he just has been with the bloodline ever since, even when he was fighting people like Seth or like Dominic, when he had that really weird rivalry with Dominic for like 2 months. It's always somehow tied back into the bloodline. I understand what you're saying, where they're going to be a fight forever. Another example, Swerve and Adam Page.
Yep.
They've had breaks in between, and it makes it just that much more fresh when you go back to it. But if you eat leftovers for 3 weeks in a row, you're going to be sick and tired of that food for the rest of your life. You're never going to want to see it again. You need to have a break in between. They suffocate each other too much. They should be able to do other things and then eventually come back to each other, because that's how much the magnetism is between them. But they have to separate to be able to come back to each other.
That's a perfect way of putting it. I love how you put that. And here's the thing, and I'm sure this is a topic you had planned, but let's talk about it. Cody Rhodes' title reign. Has it felt underwhelming? Because I think there's a lot of people who kind of feel like that. Because it's just kind of like, okay, he finally finished the story, but now what? And if you look at the feuds he's been placed in, it's been kind of like, I think at the end of the day, it's like you say, Chrissy, at the end of the day, we know we're going back to Roman. So it's just a matter of like, okay, let's put him with AJ Styles for a couple months, but who really gives a shit because he's going back to Roman? Let's put him with Solo, but you know what? Who gives a shit? Let's put him because he's going back to Roman. And I think that's the biggest problem with all this. Now, I do want to say this, though. I think since his reign started, I think the rivalry with Kevin Owens has been his best feud.
Agree.
Like
Absolutely.
KO's been great.
Absolutely.
And that's because of KO, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Yeah. And not only that, like, his title reign's been 50-50 on my end, too. I mean, he is doing his best to be the champion, but also at the same time, he's just continuing on to place holding as being a champion, especially, like, bringing out the wing angle for the Saturday Night main event, too, which they brought back, and they're going to be going, like, you know, like, every so often on the network. I know they're doing their next show coming up in Texas too for that. So Cody's got to be like is continuing to set an example as a champion too, but like the storytelling of it has to end too. And piggyback to what you said about the Judgment Day as well. I remember in the group chat with shout out to Lasha Maurice, of course, of the Wrestling Room /MEM. She did mention like what we're talking about the whole Judgment Day is going to be breaking up. She mentioned, and I brought up we're going to be seeing Dominic Mysterio versus Balor at Mania, a possible reason because there's like a hint of a teaser on the Christmas Eve episode Monday Night Raw or Christmas whatever, you know, and it looks like we're going to be seeing them fighting possibly at Mania. Lasha mentioned Dominic mentioned that he wanted to get a W at Mania because the past two Manias he done, he got L's. Like his first Mania match with Rey against his dad, Rey Mysterio, L's. And then WrestleMania 40, where he was teaming up with LDF against LWO, he got another L. So it looks like because of like Judgment Day 2.0, as I call it, you know, because Judgment Day will forever will be Damian, Rhea, and yes, I'm adding Edge to it. And then Finn Balor.
Absolutely.
All that. Exactly. So Mania 40 is going to be the end of the Judgment Day 2.0 once and for all. We'll be seeing Finn and Dominic Mysterio battling against each other. We're going to be seeing a face turn from Dom and Liv possibly because people are already hating on Liv, whether she's a babyface or a heel, no matter what. And that's when it comes to like fandoms, when they're like invested in like the wrestler they like or dislike. And we'll be talking about like, you know, the IWC later on in this because I do wanted to point it out of it. But some of these long-term storytelling needs to be ended needs to end it at some point. Also with AEW, with the Death Riders too. The Death Riders are going to be continuing on to like, you know, be like this badass faction, which people already like are not feeling the Death Riders since BCC is no more. Bryan Danielson is done and got kicked out, and of course, like, you know, he is done with wrestling for now, but there's like still kind of like a iffy room, like, oh, we're gonna be seeing the last of Bryan Danielson. I don't know, all that stuff. But I'm just hoping like when it comes to like certain long storytelling in 2025, it needs to have like a cutoff point where like, okay, we need to start like another storyline that's gonna be keeping like the fans more invested, like going into next year and all that. Like the Bloodline storyline has been going on for years. Judgment Day for like almost 2 to 3 years, let's just say, or two and a half, whichever it is.
Like a year ago, we were talking like, okay, Judgment Day splitting up after WrestleMania. It's like, what the hell? They're still here.
Yeah,
they've used up so much time. They've wasted so much time when it came to the Judgment Day, because I will say this from the treetops till there's like no air in my lungs. We have access to one of the original leaders and founders of Bullet Club in Finn Balor. And what in the fuck do you mean to tell me that he is still playing fucking like second fiddle to other members in the Judgment Day? Until recently, painfully recently, there should have been a breakup of the Judgment Day after Mania, with Damian winning the title and Finn having an issue with that in some way, shape, or form. And I would have taken Finn and Seth. I would have taken Finn and Gunther. I just need Finn away from the Judgment Day. They gave him a title reign with the tag team titles where he defended what, 3-4 times.
I didn't think it was that. Yeah.
It's absolutely insane that you have these people that are just stupidly, ridiculously talented. You have an Io Sky, you have an Asuka, you have a Bailey, you have these people at your disposal. You have someone like Otis, where I'm still honestly very, very vexed that we did not get an actual proper fallout between
Mhm.
Chad Gable and Otis. I will
Yes.
never forgive them for that. Very similar to how I will never forgive them for not giving me a proper ending to Ms. Dow and The Miz. I did not get a proper ending for that either. I was very upset. And this is what WWE does: is they pull the trigger 6 months too late to start something, and then they pull the trigger 3 months too early to end it. Like, that's why in 2025, one of my biggest concerns for any storyline is the New Day storyline, because what this needs to end with is Xavier getting a title. And I don't think they thought that through. The only way this
Exactly.
works is if Xavier Woods gets a title. Xavier Woods is on Raw, am I correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, so Xavier's title would be Gunther. Nope.
Or the Intercontinental, maybe?
No, but that's what I mean. It wouldn't work if he doesn't get anything but a world title.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It
Yeah.
only works if he gets a
Makes
word title,
sense.
because
So if he
then
wins the IC or the US title, it just
he's still lesser than. He will still be the only person in
Exactly.
today that has not won a world title. Big E's been IC champion. Kofi's been IC champion and tag champion. Same as E. E's had multiple titles. E was NXT champion for a while. So unless Xavier wins the world championship, it will be for naught. The breakup would have been for nothing. This will not make any sense unless my very very dear tag partner made a good point where the only way that you make this make sense is if they bring in Ridge Holland,
Mm-hmm.
and then you take it a little bit away from Xavier and make it more about them betraying E.
Oh,
But
yeah.
there's a breakup here. Something has to happen. If they make it where like everything was fine, actually we're back together again, and Xavier doesn't benefit again either way, it was for nothing. You should just have them kept with like the waffles and the pancakes and the cereal. But it's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be Xavier getting a title. Now you put the fucking ball in motion. Now you have to be able to control it. You pulled that trigger. Now what are you gonna do?
Exactly. And especially how they're going to be going into this whole mold for it, too. And come to think of it, y'all, Monday Night Raw is going back into 3 hours. SmackDown is going into 3 hours. You know they're going to be continuing on to squeezing in those like long-term storytelling for that, but there's going to be more opportunities for the stars too, especially if this whole like transfer window. Also, the draft is going to be coming up post Mania too. Though there's going to be like a lot of like opportunities out there for like if this long-term story feud will continue on, and it just needs to have a cutoff point at some too for that. Because the thing of it is, it's like 3 hours is too much, y'all. But I understand they're trying to get squeezing as much for the talents too, and especially for the titles as much as they can for that. But for that, I'm hoping for like when it's going into next year, you know, within those 3 hour lengths for Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, and leave NXT alone for how the hours is. So is AEW. So is New Japan. Anything. Well, New Japan is different. They're focused more as like more of like the pro wrestler style of it and all that entity and everything. Just find a middle ground to make sure that there has to be a way to like going forward to the next story for those talents. That's what I'm hoping for. And it's definitely going to continue on to keep the more fans invested, you know. And the thing is with like the streaming service and all that, wrestling fans are probably going to be like going back to watch because it's going to be on replays. Who knows how it's going to be like on Netflix or with the AEW with Max or anything too. Because the changes of those wrestling fandoms, especially how they're gonna watch too, it's like they're gonna be watching into a whole entirety, or they're just gonna watch like certain parts of it too. Because like all of us, we do have like stuff outside of it, with work and all that, and we cannot watch as much wrestling as option as needed too for it. And that actually would see that where there got to be a common ground for like each of the storyline, especially each of ending too. Like, you know, with AEW, the Death Rider situation, the Learning Tree storyline, TNA Wrestling with the system going on, and then WWE with each of the storyline that we're talking about it too. For that, I'm seeing that like for what these fans are going to be doing for that is how they're going to weigh the thing. Or when it comes to like, you know, focusing on this concrete storytelling, also John Cena's retirement tour and all that too. And I'm going to be segueing way into right now because like years of vast emotions, that's the topic we're already talking about it right now for that, because of like how SmackDown Raw is going into 3 hours, storyline is all that, long-term story returns and all that too. And from what I'm thinking, because we're going to be seeing a lot of people in AEW coming in from TNA Wrestling and WWE too, and I'm hopefully they'll retool to bring in some of the indie stars too. And coming to mind, because AEW Rules End just wrapped up, and it was the last AEW pay-per-view, the whole pay-per-view of 2024 in wrestling. We got a few going on with Death Riders versus Rated FTR. And come to think of it, and I did brought up with my friends too, is that Marina Shafir is the only female members of the Death Riders. We're going to be seeing Beth Phoenix or Beth Copeland making her debut at AEW, assisting Adam for that. That's one of the examples for like, we're going to be seeing a debut from like legends from AEW perspective. WWE, because of the ID program too, that honestly, we're going to be seeing 2 or 3 WWE ID recruiters that are going to be making their NXT debut regardless, because they already announced like the first couple of ID recruiters like this year. And from what everybody's talking about it, especially from the different region, I do pay attention to some of the independent wrestling star that's now WWE ID. I do see 2 or 3 of them will be making their NXT debut too. And with the WWE ID program that's taking it buzzworthy, especially with the wrestling school that's going on with each of the regions too. And especially the fact that I do see like, you know, some of the WWE ID school are doing tryouts or having an open house to recruit wrestlers that that already been trained or inexperienced to join the school as well. That to me will be like, it's going to bring in more eyes on the independent wrestling scenes too. Because back then, like, when people think of independent wrestling, and especially this is like one of the pet peeves now, hot dogs and a handshake. Like the misconception of independent wrestling scene and how they're running it. Because I know like different promotions and different companies have like the way of like how they're running the show in a different manner too. And so we're going to be seeing a lot of promotions that's going to be very notable all across the social media. We do have like a couple of independent wrestling promotion that's already been promoted, especially like when it comes to like myself as a content creator and other people that are like doing content creation. And some are like working in the indies as well, like myself or XLJ too, that the independent wrestling scene as it is going to be much stronger and more hungrier than ever too for it, especially like with the WWE ID program that's going to be going on. Promotions are like either coming back or actually starting up a new promotion, even though that in each of the regions there's always going to be tribalism no matter what. And unfortunately there is tribalism within the wrestling scene in certain region as well. I'm not gonna lie, you know, and this is coming from me and from what I'm seeing in my viewpoint in different perspective as well. As long as like those independent wrestling promotion better, you know, stay within what they have to say behind the scenes instead of like airing out on social media and all that, they could definitely garner their own fan base too. So that way the fans can talk about it and also like, you know, spreading more, especially like helping more with those independent wrestling stars, because those independent wrestlers that had to promote themselves on social media, like TikTok, Instagram, all that. I could name a few, like Brooke Havoc. You mentioned Christy, Brooke Havoc, also Alex Kane. I didn't know who Alex Kane was until like I went back to TikTok. I was like, oh, Alex Kane, he wrestles for MLW. Or even Mikey O'Shea. Even like the colleagues that I work for that are putting out contact, like Laura Frazier, to even like other noble names like Alex Gracia, Kiana Dreams, and so on, putting out content. And surprisingly enough, I do have like some independent wrestler actually ask me for what advice I could give them to, you know, to have more fan base on their social media page, you know, and I had to like give them their honest take about it too, you know, from what I'm seeing for it too. So I feel like with the independent wrestling scene for going into 2025, it's definitely going to be into full fruition. It's going to be making it more and more notable too. I mean, so many promotions just to keep up. I mean, I could name like 30 plus promotion in the top of my head, for crying out loud, that is currently still active.
Yeah. It's crazy when you think like in this day and age, you can go to like an indie show and like I can remember my local company ran a show here probably about a month ago, I think it was, and they were literally going up against like a big like football game as well as going up against a couple other events that was going on. Even wrestling was going on that night. I think there was a pay-per-view, and somehow, some way, they still sold out their show. There was like over like 600 people there, like just a little hole in the wall indie show. So I mean, it just goes to show you like that there is a strong appeal of going to live wrestling, and the thing of it is, you see so many different talents that work so many different shows and stuff. Like I've said it before. I'll say this 1,000 times. Go and support your local independent wrestling company because you literally may be seeing some of the stars of the future. Chrissy, what about you?
Absolutely. When it comes to indie wrestling, I was very lucky to be able to meet Alex Kane this year. And we met because of a connection on TikTok, and I never thought that that would be possible. But I went to go see Summer of the Beasts this past year, and that was a show that Alex Kane was on, and just how important the indies are for the world of professional wrestling. It's insane because it reminds you that these people are human. These people have to travel, have to go through hardships. They put so much of themselves into an opportunity where they may or may not be guaranteed work that day, that week, that month, but they still put it all on the line for us, whether or not we're nice to them or not in terms of the fan base. But I was told very, very, very clearly that I got lucky with some of the beasts. I believe it was Akira was there, Kenta was there, Matt Riddle was there, Paul London was there. And I was told, yeah, that usually doesn't happen. So just like, don't think every indie show is like that.
Yeah.
you landed on a hot one. But yeah, like just seeing how I'll never forget there was this young man there at the show that I went to with his grandmother, and she goes there so often that there's a reserved spot for her wheelchair because no one else sits there.
That's
and
awesome.
That's the beautiful thing about wrestling. Like it transcends years and age and like financial differences and everything else. Like if you love wrestling, you love wrestling. And I've been incredibly lucky personally, at least, to have had the experience of finding people who were also into wrestling that ended up being incredible people, such as yourselves. We all have. So when wrestling is good, it's great. When wrestling of any kind, professional or indie, when it's good, it's great. It's just sometimes I feel like it's more dependent on us than it is on the wrestlers themselves, you know?
It definitely is too. And I piggyback to it. There's another like independent wrestling content creator I did follow, and actually follow me for the first time ever when I went back to TikTok. It's actually Princess Death Wish, who is an independent wrestler based in Utah, but they're very incredible. And I actually had an interaction with them, and they're like the absolute gem ever. And seeing like what Princess Death Wish put out the content on TikTok and especially like on other platforms, especially promoting like the show too and all that, like it actually brings in more engagement too within the fandom, more into like to check out these shows as well. Now back to like everything too. It seems because like, you know, when it comes to independent wrestling, we always had to like, you know, try their best to like promote this out, promote their work and everything like that too. And one of the things when it comes to like, you know, content creation, especially like, you know, when people start out with wrestling content creation, they'll be like getting more opportunity. I know there has been like a red flag when it comes to like, oh, when you're making content, you're not part of the business. Whoa, if you get an email to like a random independent wrestling promotion offering you a job, make sure to reach it, by the way, because I learned my lesson the first time it happens and all that. But anyway, the past is the past. If you get a contact from a promotion to work at an independent wrestling show, it can be anything like from broadcasting aspect to ring crew, not ring crew, broadcaster, like, or selling tickets or like anything, then you're part of the industry as well too. I mean, and especially like, you know, there's always a misconception when it comes to wrestling content creators within the wrestling business too. But you still gotta like, you know, you do the work and all that. And that's why I'm very grateful enough that I'm gonna be starting training like sometime next year, like around January or February though, which I already locked down an independent wrestling school, like a wrestling school that I'm going to be going into. I just need to like get the confirmation when I'll be starting and everything like that too. But anyway, it's like, you know, there's so much appreciation going on with like, you know, how the wrestling content creators are like doing for their brand, but also helping out with the independent wrestling. And the fans are actually helping this independent wrestling promotion and wrestlers, you know, like spreading like a word of mouth, sharing like match highlights or anything content created relations too, to get independent wrestling boosting. Like think of it, it's like if it wasn't for like YouTube or TikTok or X or Instagram or other social media platforms, like independent wrestling is not going to be thriving to how it is, especially like getting the recognition for like independent wrestlers too. And I'm forever grateful to work with some of the incredible indie wrestlers, especially with Brooke Habit. She is absolutely a gem to work with, and an honor to like interview her and do ring announcing a couple of her matches as well. And yeah, and then other of the wrestlers, especially some that I consider like, you know, lifelong friends too. So some of them, you know, that I remain friends with, close to all that, you know, and they also been there for me, you know, when I have questions about the business or like life in general too, you know, they always make sure that I'm good and all that, you know. But the thing of it is like, you know, I just feel like independent wrestling will get enough appreciation as it is instead of like misconception, as long as like both the wrestling business, like the indie wrestling promotion, and also the fans have like common ground for it too. Like let the independent wrestling and the wrestlers do their thing, like all that, and then fans worry about being a fan instead of like the misconceptions or what they saw on online, all that. Because like I've seen like, you know, wrestlers or independent wrestling promotion being called out, you know, and of course like when they called out, you know, they done shady shit, and I have to look at it as like, yeah, all that. So wrestlers, like all that too. It's just like they got to do this in the private matter too, because the thing is they have to worry about is like, you know, continuing on to run their show, especially with the fan base they have too, though. And you know, with social media, it's just gonna get like a more of a vast variety of it too. And I'm very forever grateful. Like, you know, I was helping out some of the promotions like through my Instagram following, and they're getting like massive amount of following too, coming from me, or like, you know, for they're doing their work too. Like as I mentioned, like to make sure like to promote the work as much as they can and everything too. So spreading the good word of independent wrestling, right, XLJ?
Absolutely. Yeah, preach it from
Yeah.
the rooftops, like I say. And like take like your family members with you, your friends or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe they've heard something about this wrestling thing, right? they want to check it out. And who knows, you may be getting a lifelong fan out of it, you know? I know I get a kick out taking my dad to some of these indie shows, and it's cool because he kind of reverts back to that old school, you know, like, oh, you know, kick him in the ass or whatever, you know. It's just fun. It's fun. It's fun. That's the best way I can describe it. You go to an indie, and especially the interaction from the talent with the fans as well. Like putting on, like, oh my gosh, it's. I remember like we B-roll and I went to a show earlier this year. It was like I think it was like a death match show of all things, but we had this guy come up to B-roll because he was like on his phone doing something, texting or whatever, and he's like, get off your phone, fat boy, you know, just like stuff. It's just fun. It's fun. That's the best way I can describe it. It's fun.
It's always fun, especially seeing different matches. Like Doug, Michaela, and I, we went to Hood Slam back in November. We saw a match between Dark Sheep versus Anton Voorhees. TVs has been involved, of course. And there was both TV spot. Like, holy crap, never seen him. Plus, that was like one of my top favorite matches, independent wrestling matches of 2024. Just saying from my perspective and viewpoint, and watching the matches again itself too. Which shout out to both of them. But anyway, yeah, like that was incredible, especially like, you know, how like memorable moments they had in independent wrestling, especially with like different stipulation matches and storyline too, as well. And it's just bringing, like I said, more appreciation for it. Like, I wasn't even introduced to independent wrestling until 2017 when I was staying in Canada for like almost half of 2017. And if it wasn't for like two of my dearest friends introducing me to Alpha One Wrestling, like I would have known who is MJF, to All Ego Ethan Page, which he is the owner of Alpha One Wrestling. I don't know who's currently running it. I didn't ask for it since Ethan is now with WWE. Who else? Josh Alexander, Penelope before, Joey Janela, RSP to, oh man. Oh, Jay Chung and so much wrestler. Oh, John Silver too, and not Alex Reynolds, John Silver and Tracy Williams, and so much more. I would never know about some of those independent wrestling wrestlers that is like going to be making it big, like years down the line too.
I mean, that was a laundry list you just read off there. And you think about it, like you go to an indie show, you're seeing like the next, who could potentially be the next big star. You never know.
Big stars.
That's the beautiful thing with it.
Very, like, I'm very honored. Like I said, I'm very honored to like meet those wrestlers, and especially working with some of the wrestlers, like whether they're like starting out or even like, you know, big names too. It's like, it's not just a privilege, but it's also a very gratefulness too, especially getting the knowledge of the their viewpoint and their insight as well too for it. And like I said, that's the beautiful thing about independent wrestling itself too. And especially like, you know, we're going to be seeing a spike a bit more when it comes to content creation for it. And speaking of content creation, just wanted to segue in for it, just to think of it. So as y'all know, TikTok ban is about to happen. I know they have like a court here. I know they're going to be doing one more court hearing or something like that on January 10th. I did a little bit of research about it too. I'm not sure what the state of it, but it looks like it's going to be banned in the United States. But the thing of it is with content creation stage. So I know TikTok has been one of the biggest focal points of social media, especially when it comes to the internet wrestling community itself. And I know I've seen everything that's going on with like the start of like the Wrestle Talk community into how it is. And I know as of now with 2024, the Wrestle Talk community is not what it seems to be. That's why I left, because of the drama, the beef, secret competition, left and right, unnecessary, like subject matter that is not relatable to hating on the wrestlers and all that too. But I would say this to take away from like, you know, for TikTok, it's like a starting point for all of us, you know, with content creation, whether we did start a content creation on YouTube or other platform. that, it's like slowly like, garnering until TikTok, where you get vast amount of views and followers as well. And since then, like, other content creators are like doing other platforms outside of it. Like, they're now streaming on Twitch or Kick or even here on YouTube to, posting content on Instagram or any other like platform too. And come to think of it, is that like, once, the TikTok ban, and that's what I'm predicting next right now in 2025, YouTube and Instagram will be back to its pre-TikTok days, meaning that, we know, like, for YouTube, we know some of the creators that we've been heard of for years, especially like from Cultaholic to What Culture Wrestling, Brian Zane with Wrestling Regret, Luge, who does like reaction video to WWE, like on Monday Night Raw and all that, and others. And once the ban happened, we're going to be seeing a lot of a spike of wrestling content creators on those vast amount of different platforms too. And especially the fact that, with YouTube has changed throughout the years, and it's now more into like more of like longer content form. Like, people are doing think pieces even more thoroughly, to doing a show or a podcast like this, the show itself, to just doing like video essay about it, documentary style, and even like about interviews too. Like, I know like some of the wrestling content creators started their own podcasts and all that. They're already starting to interview some of like big name wrestlers that used to be in XYZ companies and this and that, and getting more opportunities too. I honestly feel that, and it is really sad, because I know that like I have my different feelings about TikTok, but TikTok has a game changer when it comes to the wrestling content creation side of it too. And it gives more opportunities for everyone to just express it more into this creative manners too. I know that it's not going to be how it was in TikTok with like, people jumping in left and right and all that, because now people can do it on their own self. And when it comes down to it, and especially we do have YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels, I'm feeling with those short content forms is still going to be going on, but we're going to be seeing more people being more creative, like having more think pieces, or even like looking back at some of them sites, or even promoting matches and independent wrestling promotion as well too. That was I'm going to be seeing when it comes to wrestling content creation side of it, especially like, and y'all, like I said, this is, we're talking about the what if, because we're not sure if TikTok is going to be 100% completely banned by January 19th. Like I said, they're still going over to have another court hearing coming up in a few days and whatnot. So I have a feeling that, YouTube is going to be back to where it was, pre-TikTok age, but it's going to be more and more stronger than ever. Instagram will be back into their irrelevancy too, especially like when it comes to the wrestling community itself and more creative side of it. And also wanted to add that Instagram is a portfolio too, because wrestling promotion and wrestlers that don't have those like, TikTok, they use it as their portfolio as well to promote the show and everything too, especially content. And I do see it. And especially for my perspective, my following count has doubled up since I left TikTok, and I was like, whoa. So
yeah, I think regardless of what happens with TikTok and whatnot, I mean, there's still going to be some form of social media that you're going to be seen on, like some people prefer YouTube over Instagram. Some people prefer X over, and then you got new ones like Bluesky and all these other ones, I mean, as long as I think as a content creator, as long as you are like, don't ever, if there's an idea you have, don't let it like go by the wayside, like go with it. Because even if you put it out there and maybe one person watches it or whatever, that's still one person that saw it, and you got to see your vision, and you feel like this sense of just like, you know what, I just did something. Like, for God's sakes, I just like, with Best Gal and Jay and B-roll, we just made a movie. Like we put out like on our channel a couple weeks ago.
I was there behind the scenes at Cleveland.
You were.
Yes.
You were there. Yeah, you were there. Well, we should have had you on as a credit. But no, it's but yeah, I mean, just you. But seriously, folks, if you have if you want your voice to be heard or whatever, put it out there, man. Don't worry about like what the feedback or any shit like that's gonna be, because like you're being true to yourself. Just be true to yourself, and just if you've got an idea, a voice that you want to be heard or a voice to get out there, just do it. Don't hesitate. Like create whatever account you got to do. Get on the. I'm an old fart, so get on whatever, the Bluesky or the whatever. That right? Bluesky, right? Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I got to set that up. But anyways, point being is like whatever social media platform you get discovered on or whatever you decide to utilize, just like don't stop just because you think an idea is dumb or something, because there's no dumb ideas, man. Just get out there, do your thing.
At the end of the day, we're all making content about the same 5 things. Matt Cardona posted recently, someone asking them how he got over on social media. He asked them how many times they posted in a day. He said like 1 to 3. Matt Cardona said it wasn't enough. You have to flood the algorithm. You have to force people to see your face. And that's really what it is. That's what it needs to be, at least for now, especially because TikTok is moving over. We're going to be talking about the Montreal screw job until the wrestling sun burns in the sky. We are going to be talking about the same things forever, because we're all wrestling fans, and wrestling, even though it seems like one of the biggest things ever, does kind of sort of happen in a bubble. So we're all going to be talking about Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW, Dynamite, and Collision until the world burns out. So just because someone may not vibe with my content doesn't mean that they won't vibe with Sienna's or they won't vibe with XLJ's. You have to be you, and your people will find you. But you have to put your face out there in order for them to do so. So speaking as someone with incredibly high anxiety that was able to learn from people such as Sienna and XL over this past year, I've been more confident than ever, and that's a very, very difficult place for me to get to. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you both so much for being incredibly inspirational and consistent and sweet and caring and kind. The fan space needs more people like you guys, and I mean that. Especially Sienna, you know how competitive the women's space can get, how quickly things can become very backstabbed.
Yeah.
So for you to be as genuine as you have been, as caring and concerned as you have been from day one, and that's never faltered, that not only means a lot to me, but that also sets an incredible example for the other young women watching going forward, wondering whether or not that they can do it, whether or not someone such as themselves can see themselves in the space. And seeing people like us in these spaces, people who look completely different, who sound completely different, shows everyone that we belong in the spaces that we deem ourselves worthy of. But it has to come from us first. So no matter how incredibly terrified you may be to post that post, to make the video, to make the podcast, do it. Do it, because at the end of the day, someone is just making edited videos of pictures clipped together and they're getting 15,000 views. So no matter how incredibly small seeming you think the post may be, if it finds its right people, you'll be just fine. But you have to make sure that you're seen first. And knowing that there's people such as XLJ and Sienna in the space that allow people to see not only content in terms of quality, but content in terms of people who are just educated on what they're speaking on and passionate about what they're speaking on and want to put forward the most positive wave so others can follow suit. Like it gives me some kind of hope for the future. So no matter where the leaves may, no matter where the wind may blow any of us, YouTube, Twitch, Kick, whatever, I know that because there's ones that you guys out there, that we're going to be just fine.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. And also, y'all, like what Christy said, just be seen or even be heard, because like if you're like doing like those video edits or even like doing trending audio videos, like they just want to see like a little bit more of an authentic sound. Yeah, it's fun and all that, but you know, trending audio video is not gonna last forever, y'all. Like, let's be for real though. Just think of something that like it'll be like more on like the creative side too. Like, let it all out, let your voice be heard, and also like showing your true authentic self and be more relatable too, because like I do have a couple people that DM me, like, you know, sometimes they say I inspire them and I'm very relatable and they tell me about why they love wrestling and everything like that. And also proud of like, you know, what I do, my voice is being heard and all that too, though. I would say just be the one that you can make an impact. Be the one that you can definitely make the change for yourself and lead by the others' example as well, too. And plus, we have billions of people out there in the world too that's going to be enjoying the content, whether it's just 2, 3.4, or X amount of people. You know, they're going to enjoy it no matter what. I mean, shit, I'm not putting like any high equipment, graphic, or anything. This is just a beginning, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're so excited. We're so excited for you to have this kick off, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
For anyone to
I
see
appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it so much, y'all. And, you know, it's like, you know, it kind of popped into my head, but at the same time, because, like, you know, it's like, do you want to do this and all that? It's like, you know what? F it. Let me go ahead and do it. Yapping with SC. Like I said, I am a certified yapper. I yap about anything. Y'all see me yapping all that. My friends already did yapping up about it, too. So, yeah, let me go ahead and kick off into one point because we did cover up what's going to be happening in 2025 in wrestling from our perspective, of course. Will the IWC remain the same post Wrestle Talk era? Let me just be honest with y'all. I mean, if TikTok is going to be banned, though, but if it's going to happen, honestly, it is going to be remaining the same, but it is going to be somewhat tame at the same time, too, because, like, you know, Instagram has their own thing to do with the Instagram wrestling community. They have their own thing with not getting people involved and everything like that. YouTube is YouTube, all that. But like the only thing that will get involved is like on Twitter/X or on Bluesky, mainly on X too. But even though the IWC will be still the same tribalistic viewpoint, and unfortunately, in real life wrestling community, there is tribalism going on. As why I did see it from different viewpoints. You know, that's coming from me. That's coming from a viewpoint. There is still tribalism going on in real life, especially with the independent wrestling scene as well too. But I honestly feel that it's gonna be tame as much as it is to. All we just gotta do, and I'm gonna say this for wrestling content creators: the mute button and the block button will be always your best friend. You know, that's all I gotta say because, like, you know, the behavior for those people because, like, they just want to see like X, Y, and Z like wrestler or the company to fail and everything like that, or your voice is not invalid or anything like that. Who gives an F? You know. It's not going to change no matter how much we're going to be putting up the video, say, can you please stop, respect women's wrestling or anything like that. It's still going to be the same, unfortunately. But will it tame? It's going to be taking a long run, too. Especially with the post, like, Wrestle Talk era of it, too. I mean, it is going to be remain, but, you know, it's all up to them to decide or up to decide as well.
I honestly think it's going to be about the same. Sorry. But like, regardless if TikTok's gone or not, because the thing of it is, though, is I think it's because it's one of those things where people are always going to find something to bitch about. And that's their thing is they're like, you know what? I can be a keyboard warrior, right? I can go on and like bitch and gripe about this, that, and the other. It's kind of like you could have, you know, oh shit, let's just take WrestleMania from this past year. A lot of people saying like that's one of the best WrestleManias of all time or whatever, right? But you've got the one guy or the one girl or the one whoever just like, yeah, but that one segment went like that one match went 5 minutes too long. You know, they could have cut out this. You know, it's just like, come on, you're always going to find something to bitch and moan about. And I think it's kind of like you're saying, you just got to know how to kind of like go through that block and delete button's like the best thing in the world, seriously. And just because it's like you get one person that you know, bitches about some of your stuff or whatever, has this or that or the other. And like, I know, especially for both of you, you know, you're unfortunate. It's the whole thing with like, oh, well, she's a woman. She doesn't know. Like, can we fucking get past that shit? Like, what fucking moron out there has that type of a fucking argument? Are you fucking kidding me? It's 2025, pretty much. Like,
I mean,
come on.
honestly, XL, I prefer when they say that because then it just lets me know which virgins to avoid. It makes it easier for me just to know who I don't want to talk to when they say that. Because, you know, like sometimes STDs are contagious through Wi-Fi, and I'd rather not deal with that personally on my end. It's insane that I've seen men specifically complain about not finding a partner that's into their nerddoms, their fandoms, and then complain when they find a female in that space.
Yeah.
If I'm asked one more time, what's like the third line of lyric in the third chorus of Jeff Hardy's like second entrance theme, I'm gonna set the world on fire.
What the fuck?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna lose my living mind.
Or what's your wrestling Mount Rushmore? That question, it's like, oh my god.
I just tell them it's the Fashion Police twice. That's just what I tell them, just to make them leave me alone. I'm like, it's Tyler Breeze and Fandango twice.
Exactly.
That's an awesome Mount Rushmore.
That's awesome.
The most stylish Mount Rushmore.
Yes. Well, Fashion Police or MXM.
Oh, that's a good one.
Both. That could work. That would be the most stylish Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
Your answer just changed.
Yes. All right. Yeah, definitely. Because definitely, yeah, it is gonna be like remain the same when it comes to like the IWCSL or IRL, like wrestling community too. We cannot change how the people will behave too. They're gonna continue on to be like, you know, their toxic demeanor and toxic like behavior too. And that is one of the things I wanted to mention as well too. And I think this is possibly gonna be the last viewpoint for it on my end. More awareness in pro and independent wrestling and content creation as well. And by that is because like with everything that's been going on within pro wrestling and independent wrestling, like, you know, with WWE with the accusation, fights breaking out in AEW, independent wrestling companies getting canceling left and right, calling out wrestlers and etc. Same thing with content creation as well, causing the beef. And that actually caused the fans to change their mind as well too. I just feel like there has to be like a mindful way for like those companies like, hey, let's just leave it behind the scenes, you know, just leave that behind the scene, not airing it out or anything like that. But then of course it's like the fucking dirt sheet of all people, of course, ruining the shit that causes the toxicity with the IWC. And that's the thing too, because like, you know, whoever's going to be like a lurker for like any reports for like some of the dirt sheet sites, you know, or like within content creation the sites and all that too. It's like, we just gotta be more mindful. We just gotta be spreading it more awareness about it too. And especially for my side as a, you know, three things: fandom, content creation, and in the wrestling business, I have to make sure not to like have like this toxic tribalistic behavior like what I did in the past on TikTok versus on Instagram. I know my content has changed into a whole shift, you know, being more involved within the wrestling business too. It's like, I just want to make sure that like I still continue on with like the fan base that I have, you know, just leading to the right example, even though you know, there's some not going to like it. They're probably going to be unfollowing it. It's whatever. It is what it is. At the end of the day, it's like, you just got to keep in mind, like these fandoms, you know, it's like a very subjective, like, you know, subculture within the whole pop culture itself too. And in general too, when it comes to wrestling.
I mean, that's what it is with most popular things. When you get to a certain point, the fandom kind of takes over, like with Swifties, the Beehive, a lot of K-pop fandoms. And yet our fandom is deemed odd and too specific and too niche. So while there's someone paying $3,000 for season tickets for football, people spending the same amount of money for WrestleMania tickets is somehow looked down upon. I will never understand that. But yeah, I just really hope that going forward into this new year, that the IWC comes to the realization, very much like how other things in real life are happening, that when we come together, results happen. We are the ones spending the money. I was talking to XLJ about this, I believe, like on one of the podcasts we did together, where it's the Latin and Black communities that are the ones doing the most damage in terms of merch sales. It's not just the big ticket items like the boxes in the major arenas or the WrestleMania tickets, but those everyday purchases like belts, like t-shirts, like live events. That's us. That's middle to lower middle class people. That's people who are struggling to pay their rent, but they will save money to get that action figure for their kid, that ringside collectibles figure for their kid, because they know how much this means to them, how much the sport means to us. So once we realize as a collective that we are the neck that turns the head of the industry, we just have to band together and use that to our advantage. A lot more change can happen. This year is probably one of the best years for women's wrestling, point blank period.
Facts.
And I honestly feel like if we continue expecting more from these companies, letting them know that the glass ceiling will always be there unless we actually attempt to break it, we have to make our voices heard. And the way that we do that is by where we spend our money, is by where we put our time, where we put our viewership, where we put the numbers. So if the wrestling community is going to decide suddenly to care about views and ratings, let's do something about it. Let's use it to our advantage, as opposed to just using that same topic to argue amongst each other. If we're going to defeat Goliath, at some point, David's going to have to form. And I feel like 2025 might be the year that starts to happen.
Exactly. Not just women's wrestling. You pointed out also LGBTQ plus wrestlers too, because now 2024 has been the year of like more LGBTQ plus wrestlers are coming out left and right, especially the ones that like we were like, unaware who they are. Especially some of the wrestlers are coming out too. Like one of the tag teams from AEW and ROH came out this
Anthony
year.
Bowens. Wait, was it Anthony Bowens?
No.
Oh, I think they were already, or I think Anthony was already.
Is it Bear Bronson? Or is it?
It might be Bear. It might be Bear.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, y'all. Like, comment down below, y'all, because, like, we know this. But anyway, rest aside, a lot of the LGBTQ wrestlers are coming out, especially more independent wrestling promotion are like coming out and making more notoriety, which I'm very forever grateful and very honored to work with Full Queer Wrestling for Rights, for being part of the family, being part of the team, as always. And also like a lot of like LGBTQ plus independent wrestlers are actually like making into full fruition into the promotions, that like we're going to be seeing more of that. I know some of the independent wrestling promotion, they're going to be doing a theme as well. Also, more cultures based on our race too. We're going to be seeing that more too. And I've seen a little bit more of an all-women show in indie wrestling promotion, and especially LGBTQ plus and whatnot too. Glad you actually pointed that out for that.
I mean, it's just WWE is specifically WWE in terms of progressiveness is always going to be playing catch up, unfortunately. But it should have just been this way from the beginning, if we're going to be completely candid and honest.
Yeah.
These are people that exist. These are people that live. These are people that breathe. Most promotions are predominantly POC filled. It's just not there in the top 1 to 5% of who's being used on television.
Exactly.
But as we spoke about beforehand, Raw's getting 3 hours, SmackDown's getting 3 hours. All of these promotions are being able to get picked up by places like HBO Max and Peacock, and places like YouTube, where MLW streams their shows for free when they're able to. There's a lot more spaces for people now. So now there's no excuse And it goes back to what I said beforehand, is if we let them know what we expect from them, they will have to deliver if they want to compete. It is no longer a monopoly when it comes to wrestling. People have variety, people have choices on where they're going to spend their time and their money. And WWE is going to have to really realize who their actual audience is. Their audience is us. Their audience is the people who, like, are people who work 9 to 5s, people who scrap and save, people who do these events once a year, but that is their entire year savings because they love the sport so much. So I feel like they've gone to the right direction with a lot more beneficial booking for the women, a lot of beneficial booking for the people of color that they have on their rosters. AEW has always, from its inception, had an amazing POC aspect to their roster. Hopefully in 2025 it gets used more. And like you said, at this point, I think people are done with hiding who they are, including the wrestlers themselves. So they're making who they are as part of their gimmick now.
Yes.
Sunny Kiss, Sunny Kiss. I adore Sunny Kiss. Sunny Kiss is very, very honest about who they are. Sonya Deville is very, very honest about who they are. These people, for a long, long time, Anthony Bowens, no one is hiding or feeling like they should have to hide who they are anymore, because there's a audience for that. I'm Puerto Rican, a woman, and pansexual. If I don't hit the fucking Triforce, I don't know what else I can do for you. Like, literally, just don't be a dick and I'll buy your merch. Just don't be an asshole and I'll buy your shit. Like, it's not that hard, y'all. But unfortunately, even with all the backstage politics, that's not always guaranteed. But I feel like going forward, the progressive aspect of wrestling is going to be a lot more of a benefit than it will be a hindrance, as long as we don't let that one weird cousin IWC member speak too loud. Like, sometimes sometimes not all of us get a mic. Sometimes not all of us gets a mic. Sometimes not everyone needs a podcast. Sometimes not everyone needs to record themselves. So as long as we keep those ones in the back of the closet, we'll be fine with everyone else.
Wrestling is for everyone. There you go.
That's it.
Exactly. Now we're going to be ending with the closing yaps, so I like to call it. So, therefore, y'all, 2025 wrestling, it's going to be a wild ride, y'all. When it comes to, like, wrestling fandoms, content creation, and also, like, anything within, like, the wrestling industry itself, too, I feel that it's going to be a lot of emotional, a whole lot of feels, too. A lot of people are going to be talking about it left and right. And honestly say, this will garner more people to tune into wrestling even more. Especially, we're going to be getting a lot of, like, new fandoms to enjoy wrestling. Independent wrestling will be getting their respect as they deserve to be. And I feel that we're going to be seeing a whole lot of, like, recognition, all that outside of all social media as well. Creativity is going to be coming into light too. And there's going to be a lot what's going to be happening in 2025, especially with the year of awareness too, because, here in USFA, it's going downhill, but we're going to be seeing the rise of more awareness from everyone in the 3 categories. Y'all got any closing yaps?
What about you, Jay?
Yeah, like I said, I'm wrestling right now in the position it's in. Like, with as many companies that's out there, with all the exposure that they're getting, I think truly, like, we're going to be looking back on this as like one of the greatest eras in pro wrestling right now. And we're living it. Just, I can't stress that enough, to just appreciate the moment that we're having and the moment that we're in. Because, I mean, you all know, as lifelong fans, like, this doesn't happen all the time, There's the relics from yesteryears where we went through like a 10-year drought or whatever, where it's just like, it just wasn't as fun. But it's fun again, it's cool again, and if you can get like other people watching too, I mean, it's just sit back and enjoy wrestling. It's the best advice I can give for everybody as far as like what's coming and what to expect. And I just want to say this, kudos to you, both of you. I'm so excited for your 2025s, what you guys got planned. Like, Sienna, everything you got going on, from just getting your foot into the business to, announcing to managing to now you starting wrestling school. That's so excited to have like that, like, gumption to kind of go and do that. Like, flowers to you. And Chrissy, like,
Thank you.
I've loved you from day one. Like, you've always been one of my favorites. Not trying to choose favorites, but still, just like I'm so excited with what you're going to do this 2025 and what's going on with La Familia and stuff. So, it's exciting times. Like, get in on it. Like, you need to be, if you're not for some reason following them, you definitely need to be, because their 2025s are going to be pretty stellar. I'm not gonna lie, I think 2025 for us over on Cole TV is going to be pretty awesome too. Like, this year alone,
Mhm.
I was thinking about this the other day. We're going to hit 100 episodes of PW60. Like, how crazy
Oh,
is
nice! I can't wait.
I'm so
that? Yeah,
excited.
yeah. So
I'm excited. Can't wait
and
for
we got
something to come up with.
Yeah, and we got a lot of cool stuff in store. So, like, 2025, I know if we look at it from a worldly perspective, we know what we're facing here in the United States, the elephant in the
Mhm.
room,
Yeah.
but we're always going to have pro wrestling, right? And that's the thing, is,
Mhm.
like I say, just enjoy it, because right now, everybody, we are all so blessed to be in this incredible era. Like, think of so many talented professional wrestlers that's out there nowadays. It's like you can go from the top to the middle to the bottom of the card, and all of them are so damn good. So, like I say, in closing, just 2025 is going to be an awesome year. I think. Enjoy it and stay tuned, as they say.
Thank you. Thank you both. First of all, yeah, once again, when it comes to the IWC, like you both have said, the community is going to be incredibly important going into the next year. There's going to be a lot of changes for the wrestling fandom as a whole, especially in the US with everything going on with TikTok. The one thing I can say for 2025, for anyone that may be uncertain of how to live within the internet wrestling community, is to find your people. Find your people
Yeah.
as soon as possible. It's so much easier when you do. Trust me. If it wasn't for these two alone, I wouldn't be with the mental sanity and capacity to do half of the things that I'm doing, including this podcast with you guys tonight. But yeah, find like-minded people, find people that are smart, find people that are well-read, that are well-educated on the things that you both love, and it'll make it just that much more fun to interact with. Sienna, once again, you being probably one of the most uplifting, unproblematic women that I've ever met in my life. The biggest example I can give it to is I saw this meme today where it said, "In a world of Regina Georges, I strive to be an Elle Woods." And that applies to you in the most painstaking way, in a world where people tried to cut each other down, to step on each other, to gain a few inches of height. You have been the person to lift others up over yourself and to not expect anything in return. And that will never go unseen. And people will always tell you what is wrong, the things you need to work on, the visuals that need to be fixed, but they'll never tell you the good things. And see, and I'm here to tell you that you have changed not only myself, but the people who you interact with on a daily basis. And I need you to absorb that. I need you to hold it. I need you to keep it. And I need you to listen to me when I say that the internet wrestling community that we're involved in as it is right now would not be the same if you did not exist within it. So from the bottom of my heart, I love you for everything, girl. For everything. You are seen, you are heard, you are valid, and I am so incredibly excited to see what you do going into this year. And I love you so much. Jeremy, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have had any kind of launch pad at all. I absolutely love Cole TV. I'm absolutely love the PW60 family and being able to be associated with you guys, and that you guys want to hang out with me at all is still very confusing, and I'm concerned for your mental health sometimes when you ask, but I'm not gonna turn down like a, what's the thing, like a, not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth situation. That's very much what it is. Like, you guys fell into my lap, and the education that I've gotten from you guys, the advice and friendship that I've received, is something that I will never be able to put a price on, and it's something that I'm always going to work until you all decide to stop talking to me. I'm going to make sure that I earn the right to be able to call your comrades, your friends, and to be able to be there for you guys because you guys were there for me. And that is what needs to be done in the IWC expeditiously for everybody. The sooner that everyone finds their people, the more you realize just how not alone you are in the universe. And it makes wrestling just that much better. And when it comes to the wrestling industry, whether it be the major leagues or whether it be the indies, just we need to hold everyone accountable. We need to let them know what we expect quality-wise. And we're not going to take it anymore. We don't have to. We have options. We have power. The sooner that we all come together and realize that we can change this thing that we love so much for the better as long as we stick together, that's when things are really going to get intense. And the day that we finally realize that particular little tidbit, I think is going to be this year coming. So fingers crossed.
Thank you so much, Christy. It really means a lot to me. I try not to cry or anything because I'm like a very emotional person. Even though I'm like drinking wine and all that, I was like, oh, damn, it's just really hit the field. So definitely, it definitely really means a lot to me, especially like, I'm very grateful to meet both of y'all, if it wasn't for TikTok in the first place, though, despite my feelings about it. And it's like, it comes to show that there's actually really good people out there that you can definitely vibe with and be friends with it as well, too. That is like another thing to each and every one of y'all. And I'm forever grateful to call y'all my brothers and sisters. And, y'all are been amazing. And I'm very happy that I actually like made an influence to everyone, even though I admit I'm not as perfect as I seem and all that, but we're all human beings. We learn from our mistakes. We learn and grow throughout the long run too, and that's what it is. As long as you're truly being authentic within yourself, and it's all good. Like I said, human being, 2 words. That's it, I'm very forever grateful, to meet y'all, having this lifelong friendship, especially you, XLJ, for being a big brother to me, especially on SummerSlam. You, Mr. B-Roll, and J Knows Wrestling, making sure that, like, I'm being, like, being in my hotel room, helping me carry my luggage, especially B-Roll, picking me up from the airport, carrying my luggage and all that stuff, because, I'm a woman and all that, too. But y'all made me safe, during my trip in Cleveland, too. So I want to thank you for that, too.
In the club, we're all fam.
Yes! I love it, yeah. And, yeah, this is what it shows to everyone, and this is what inspires me, yapping with SC and friends, is that I just wanted to bring in my friends that actually met throughout this, IWC space or in like within the business too. And we can yap about like, within the topic as well. And just like going left and right and all that too. That's what it's all about. And especially having fun, y'all. And hopefully for y'all, if you're inspired to do content creation, just go for it no matter what. Just take a chance and everything. And I want to y'all know, comment down below, like if you're ready to be a content creator, or even like, what are you expecting in 2025 in wrestling as well, or even you have your thoughts about 2024 or anything like that, or about this channel or this episode as well, because this is the inaugural episode of Yapping with SC and Friends as well. And, I'm very forever grateful to each and every one of y'all. Really looking forward to what's going to be 2025 into table, despite the bullshit that's going to be going on. But wrestling will always be there. It's our kind of like void to our real life stuff and everything as well. And always support independent wrestling no matter what. And with that being said, everyone, that is said, I'm going to let my friends to plug their social media page, and I'm going to close with my social media page and everything. So y'all can go whoever first.
Chrissy?
All right, babies. My name is Chrissy Tina across all social media platforms. Please make sure that you are checking us out for however long TikTok is still up for. for the Monday Night Raw Live with the Monday Night Warriors, for NXT Rewind on Saturdays. That is 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with me and my devilishly amazing co-host, Pat the Wise Man, where we just talk about wrestling and the things that gave us mental stress and how we trauma bonded. Because honestly, I feel like that's what most of the IWC is at this point. Follow me on Instagram at Chrissy_Tino16. That is where everything's going to be moving until I get the backbone to record my own podcast, which is going to be coming up very soon via inspiration by these two amazing people and all of the amazing people that we interact with on Wrestle Talk. At the end of the day, babies, it has been an amazing 2024. I am so glad to close it out with these people. I'm so glad to open it up with them as well. And at the end of the day, guys, you may not always be able to trust your friends, but you can always trust your family. Thank you so much.
Yes. So of course I'm XLJTheOG. You can you can find me under all social media platforms that I'm on, which I'm gonna get on. I'm gonna get on Bluesky. That's my next goal. I'm getting on Bluesky. But you can catch me there. Of course, you can catch me over on Cole TV. Of course, this time of year usually is kind of like it's wind down. We kind of go on a little bit of a hiatus just because like our Christmas week alone was nuts with all the stuff we were doing on there. So we will be back right before the Royal Rumble is our plan. So of course we'll be back with PW60 and all your other favorite shows. Got some new shows lined up as well. In the meantime, though, if you want to show love and support, go check out Cole TV and check out our movie. I mentioned it earlier. It was Friday night movie night, the movie, The Christmas Special. Yes, it's a Christmas special, but still, it's pretty damn good, if I do say so myself. If you want to see a movie about a sock puppet that kidnaps our friends, and the only way we can save them is by collecting semen-filled socks, then that's what you can check out. The plot is right there, folks. And hopefully Guinness gets back to us soon, as we submitted to be like the Christmas special that mentions cum socks the most in a Christmas special. We're hopeful to get that award soon. But fingers crossed, hopefully dreams do come real. But no, just check out Cole TV. We got something for everybody. I mean, everything from pro wrestling to semen-filled socks. You know, there's something for everybody.
I mean, honestly, nothing says holiday like the power of friendship and semen-filled socks.
Yes.
Right?
And that's where creativity lies ahead, y'all. Don't be afraid to be more creative, y'all.
Bet you didn't think this episode went in that way, no.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you to both for joining me on this inaugural episode. It really means a lot to me. Now, for my plugs, you guys can follow me on Instagram, Threads, and on Bluesky at Sienna_Chanel_, but on Bluesky, just without the underscore. Follow me on Twitch at Sienna_Chanel. Subscribe to this channel, like this video, hit the bell icon for notification, and share this video as well. And, you know, I'm excited to debut Yapping with SC and Friends, you know, towards the end of 2024, going into 2025. Again, I'm going to try to post, you know, Yapping with SC and Friends episode, like, you know, once or twice a month, or even how many I can. Depends on what's going on with wrestling or life in general as well. And you'll be seeing more guests, you know, or if you just want little old me yapping along by yourself, even though it's like I'll be yapping forever and y'all get tired, but it's whatever. Anyway, y'all, so thank you so much for tuning in or listening or anything like that. Looking forward to what 2025 will be coming in and all that. So yeah, yo, till then, for XLJTheOG, for Chrissy Tina, I'm your host, Sienna SC Chanel. Hope everyone has a very incredible, great holiday. Hope you enjoy the whole 2024 itself with your journey and all that. You got this, bestie. I know y'all. And hopefully y'all will have a very happy 2025. Till then, take care and etc. y'all. Bye.